I'm Tawsha Dykstra Thompson, and I am running to be your House Representative here in the 42nd District. I want to bring you on a journey today with me that kind of encapsulates why I'm running for office. And it all starts with a crayon. And it starts in this alley here in the city of Bellingham. I was a bike cop. In my 25 years of law enforcement, for 2 years I was a bicycle officer in the downtown area, and I interacted with primarily the transient population of Bellingham on a daily basis. On this day in this alley, I met Sue. And Sue, I'd seen Sue around before. I'd chatted with her briefly in other locations, but today I ran into Sue and I could see Sue was struggling today. And she was sitting up against this wall. She had her crayon and a piece of paper, and she was on the verge of tears. And so I sat down to Sue just like I am today and asked Sue what was going on. And she was trying to write a letter to someone. It was a love letter, and she was struggling to write it. And I looked at what she'd written and I realized that Sue did not know how to write. And so I sat with Sue for about an hour and I helped her write that letter and get her feelings on paper to give to who she wanted to give it to. It was really impactful for me that day. It's something that I never forgot, and throughout all the other calls that I ever went to and the other people that I helped, I always remember this 1 hour with Sue in this alley. But that wasn't my last interaction with Sue. I ran into Sue again a few months later, and I was responding to a disorderly conduct call downtown in front of the Horseshoe. And I found Sue jumping up and down on this car. The people inside the car were petrified. And Sue was obviously under the influence of alcohol and drugs. She had a beer bottle, and Sue tried to throw the beer bottle at my head, and I ended up having to arrest Sue that day and book her into jail. It was what Sue needed at that time. And I ran into Sue several more times. She struggled throughout her life to get her addictions under control, and she wasn't very successful. And then one day I came into work and I learned in shift briefing that Sue had lost the war against her addiction. And she was found at Max Motel that morning, and she had overdosed and had died. And I had to take a moment. I had to go into the locker room because I was sad. And it brought me back to this moment that I had shared with Sue. And that journey, that crayon, this is why I'm running. Our system failed Sue. We need to do better. It's not just giving Sue everything, it's really connecting with Sue. And law enforcement is a huge part of that connection. I connected with Sue as a police officer, but also as a human being. I think the human side of law enforcement is what is not being heard in Olympia. And that is why I'm going to Olympia, to bring these stories to Olympia, to know that we can do better together. And also to recognize or make people recognize that I want to help the people in my community. This is why I did law enforcement for 25 years. This is why I am putting myself out there, asking for your vote to go to Olympia, to work on these issues, and to bring the voice of the people on the streets, the voices that I interacted with every day. I need to be their voice in Olympia. And I ask you for your vote, and I just thank you for the time that you took to listen to my story and my why. Sue is one of my whys.